All right, let's see if we are up and running here. We'll get some work done today. Checking my channel here to make sure I've come through live already. The Martial Powers system looks like I am on a loading screen that has just updated. I am live already. So Martial Powers system looks like. Sounds good. All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and drop my volume down there. I'm going to grab this link here and do some social media posting. And oh, son of a bitch, I just closed up my Discord window. So let's see if everything is still intact. Live streaming there, promo, and then self-promo, and self-promo, and projects, and okay, so hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish online, and I have been running games in Dungeons & Dragons since 1987. I've been crafting content for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons on DMsGuild since 2017. And I've been a freelance artist in the RPG industry since about year 2000. Year 2000! So I'm using all these things together here, and we are creating alternate game mechanics for use in 5th edition. Almost there. Stay on target. Almost there. And okay, cool. We're good to go. So let's see. Just to update folks. Bump will be there. And then here, I'm on the X Twitter platform at Phil Kearney. If you're there, you're welcome to tag along to get notifications when I'm live and other stuff like that. Here on YouTube, like, subscribe, bell icon to get notifications when we're live in the future. We're currently episode 154. Here's the entire playlist here. The actual Martial Powers project that we're working on is here on my Patreon. You do not need to be a member of my Patreon to get access to that. If you click on the YouTube stream, it'll take you to here. Hey guys. Otherwise, this Martial Powers button here takes you to the Martial Powers document. That for you, it'll be a read-only document, but you can see here it's the same document that I'm going to be editing inside of today here. So tag along. The Martial Powers project, it's an alternate magic system for martial characters separate from spellcasting, although like paladins, rangers, artificers, as well as eldritch knights and arcane tricksters can freely mix the spells that they would normally have access to with the list of spells of powers that you have available here. The mana spend, which is the same for all of the color mana spell point variant rules and universal spell point system stuff that I do. It's based on a ratio of 1 spell point per level of spell cast in the case of these powers, which is intellectually property different from spells because you're not casting a spell, you're channeling a power. You aren't using material components, somatics, and verbals and stuff like that. It's just a part of the actions that you take. So generally, they're less powerful than spells, but they also don't require as much maintenance, work, expenses, or the concentration that spells do. So it's more versatile and easy to use for swords and boards or a two-hand fighter type. So you don't have to worry about all that stuff that goes on with spellcasting, but in the same sense, it's not as powerful as like 6th or higher level spells. They basically scale up to 5th level in power like a half caster would. So we're using half casting progression, gaining access to mana at 1st level and capping with 5th rank powers at 17th level. There's a power die, which acts as a martial arts die or a superiority die or a inspiration die that when you channel a power that allows you to modify die rolls in some way, you would use a power die, and depending on your level, it's going to determine what type of die you roll, and the amount of mana that you spend is going to determine how many of those dice you roll. And you'll either take the best result if you're modifying like a d20 result, or if you're dealing just raw damage, it would be the total of all those dice. That's how you stay within that bounded accuracy curve of a high 30 being like almost impossible. So this stays in scale with that. Everything's prepped. So when you finish a long rest, you can swap out your kit of powers that you've accumulated. Mana regains, half casters, the artificer, the paladin, the ranger, they gain hybrid points or half casting points, which will total 2 per level, 40, 20. And then martial points go to the barbarian, fighter, monk, rogue, and warlock. It's a short rest. This essentially replaces pact magic. Gives you a pool of mana from 1 to 20. It recovers on a short rest. For people that want to find out more about the warlock's specific caveats, where is that? MTG. You can go to the Color Mana Spell Point bundle here. It's a slew of different books, and if you want to, you can check out the Spell Point Warlocks specifically and peel that open to see how we deal with the difference between short rest pact magic and long rest Mystic Arcanum. Mystic Arcanum points can be spent on Arcanum or pact magic on a long rest refuel, so effectively the sorcerer has as much mana available to them per day as a wizard does. It's just you get it differently, so it's a lot of fun. I love the Spellpoint Warlock. It's just a versatile class. Let's see. So that's our stack, and then we're looking at the different powers. There's 170 of them in the book. 115 of them spend mana when you use them. The other 55 are like cantrip effects that you don't require spending mana on. We've spent numerous sessions walking through the options, revisions of these, fine-tuning them, and working on power balance. You can also learn feats instead of powers, so you can keep your ability score increases to increasing ability scores when you gain them. The combat masteries is a way of preparing weapon masteries so that you can use them with any weapon, and if you're proficient with a weapon that has a weapon mastery, any character can automatically use that weapon mastery as long as they're proficient with it. So like a fighter, like anyone that picks up a heavy crossbow could use the push mastery that the heavy crossbow has. If you're proficient with using a crossbow, you can push somebody when you hit with it. But a martial powers character that prepares a combat mastery could use the push with any weapon that they're proficient with, including unarmed attacks, natural weapons. As long as they're proficient in the weapon that they're attacking with, and any of these powers they have prepared, they can either use the masteries that are inherent to the weapon, or the combat, or whatever combat mastery you prepare. And again, as you, whenever you finish a long rest, you can swap out all the powers that you have prepared, including combat masteries, including the feats that you accumulate. We're going to see the updated feats in 2024, so obviously this list will be revised. And then we have the actual the actual monk itself. And today we're going to review the changes that they made to the Warrior of the Elements monk. We're going to see the modifications that they've made to the class here. We're going to take that and we're going to translate what we have for the monk currently to jive with the new mechanics. So I'm going to copy paste this, and we're going to take this to the front. This is going to be changed to Warrior of the Elements, which is going to replace the Way of the Four Elements, which is fine. That means we're pretty much going to have to do some heavy repair to the Elemental Keybook that we previously released. But I'm looking forward to that. So that'll be part of our 2024 updating project. We're going to remove all of the bonus powers that are built into here so that we can properly reformat this. And we'll be getting into, I'm just building the structure here real quick. We're going to look over what it is that we get in the new subclass, and we're going to reformat it appropriately today. And then there, 3, 3, 6. And what is it, 17th? No, it's 14th, right? No, it is 17th. 3, 6, 11, 17. Thank you. And we'll figure out what these features are. We'll update these features to jive with the mechanics that we have for the martial powers optional class features. And then once we have it the features rebuilt for Way of the Elementals, Warrior of the Elements, then we'll feed in the bonus powers that you'll get for taking the subclass as well, because all the martial power subclass conversions get bonus powers just like spellcasters get bonus spells. So consistency in options and variety. The extra attacks, hit points, and defenses that warrior characters get is balanced against, quote unquote, balanced against high magic 6th through 9th level spells in the late in career of casters. So we want them to have the same breadth of flexibility and customization day by day that casters like a paladin or a wizard would have, so that the martial characters in your party can remain a vital component to success in your team, and that the entire party can adapt their strategies to the specific adventure this week, instead of waiting for a level to pass by for you to update your abilities that might have limited use. Where these are less raw power in these different discipline powers that we developed. They're individually less powerful, but they're a lot more customizable and a lot more accessible to lower level characters. And you can, and the upcasting or the upchanneling is a lot more effective, and the mana use is more efficient. So overall, it seems to be balancing out pretty well against traditional spellcasters. Absolutely thrilled about that. So let me go ahead and open this up here into a separate folder, and let's jump down here into elemental attunement. So we'll start, I think that's what we're starting with, right? Yeah, so let's get into it. Elemental attunement. There we go. And let's see. How does this go? Elemental attunement. This feature is the core power of the Warrior of the Elements monk. It infuses your unarmed strikes with elemental energy, extends your reach to 10 feet, allows you to output acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, and provides the potential to toss your enemies around the battlefield. Cool. So, monks who want to throw elemental hands as soon as they can and for as long as they can will be happy to hear that this is an extremely efficient feature. You can enter elemental attunement for one focus point at the start of your turn, so you're not wasting an action or bonus action, and this state lasts 10 minutes or until you have the incapacitated condition. Okay, so let's see, getting past the hype. This is a complete redesign of the way these changes was meant to simplify the elemental monk and make the focus point expenditure more efficient. Instead of having to spend a handful of points every turn to use your elemental powers, you only have to activate it once, leaving more points to do more fun monk stuff. Cool. Seeing as elemental attunement only works with unarmed strikes, this feature means your warrior elemental monks will be more likely to be an unarmed fighter rather than a monk weapon wielder. Striking out with elemental infused punches and kicks will be even more fun with the 2024 monk, as the martial arts dice have been upgraded at each level. Now level 1 monks dish out a d6 on unarmed strikes, and their die ends at d12 at 17th. That's great news. So that's going to override the power dice that we have here, which is a d6, d8, d10. For the monk, it'll be d6, d8, d10, and then d12. So we'll use we already have built in here that the monk uses their martial arts die instead of a power die whenever they're making die rolls involving the disciplines that they learn here. So continuing on with that, striking out with the elemental infused. Now level 1 monks to shout blah blah blah. If you're looking to spice things up, new grappler feat. Okay, we can skip past that. On top of being mechanically powerful ability, blah. So, 1 monk. Let's see now level of monks. Where is the this feature gives you, okay, so on top of being able to, where was the technical bit? It's broken inside of here. Rather than focus expenditure, you only have to activate it once to do more fun monk stuff. There you go. State lasts for 10 minutes. 1 point, 10 minutes. You get reach and you get to deal elemental damage. That's cool. So we're going to go with elemental attunement. We're going to reword this as a first rank sustained power when using unarmed attacks and natural weapons. Your reach increases by 5 feet. And you can choose to deal elemental damage instead of your normal weapon. Instead of your normal weapon damage type. Instead of your normal weapon damage. When you sustain this power, choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. Your attacks can use the your attacks deal your unarmed and natural weapon attacks deal the can deal the chosen damage type. Can deal the chosen damage type while the power is sustained. You can change the damage type when you sustain this power again. Each time you sustain this power. You can change the damage type each time you sustain this power. Okay, so the way that I have it listed here is 1 point, it'll last 10 minutes. There you go. The way that we use martial powers is instead of a concentration effect, we have sustained powers. A sustained power is like a duration concentration effect, except that you don't have to concentrate on it, and it doesn't turn off until you start a long rest or become incapacitated, or it's dispelled or otherwise canceled, like anti-magic and stuff like that. So while they're like, yeah, you can make better use of your points, you can spend this point and it'll last for 10 minutes. With the system that we have here is you spend 1 point and it stays on all day until something interrupts it. So that is going to be heavily efficient mana. You can't change the damage type until you refresh it. So let's go real quick, visit our sustained rules. Let's see, channeling features, monk martial arts. Let's see, empowered metabolism. Begin at first level. At first level, we give keys starting at first level because it's core to the martial abilities now, not just at second level. So that gives us a little bit more bandwidth on what we're able to do. Let's see, empowered metabolism, first level, and that's my 20-minute timer to make sure I stay on track. Let's go with Give me a second. Here, here, here. What do we want to call it? Over channeling? Yeah, let's call it over channel. Beginning at first level, you can sustain a number of beginning at first level, the number of the amount of mana you can channel to sustain effects, to sustain powers, is equal to 1 plus the max rank of power you gain as a monk. For example, a first level. This should actually be a second level feature, not first. Second level. Beginning at, and I'll explain why in a second. There. Okay, so beginning at second level, the amount of mana you can channel to sustain powers is equal to 1 plus the max rank of power you have gained as a monk. You've gained as a monk. For example, a second level monk has a max rank, has gained 1 rank of power. You can sustain by channeling 2 mana. You can sustain two first rank powers. At 5th level, when your max rank increases to 2, you can sustain a total of 3 mana, which can be 3 first rank powers or a first and second rank powers. So if we made overchannel a first level feature, but they only get 1 mana at first level, it's pointless. And you can't if you're channeling something, if you're tapping mana to sustain an effect, that mana isn't spent yet, so you can't recover it. It's a subtle difference, but it's important. If I'm 17th level and I'm sustaining 6 ranks worth 6 mana to sustain 6 ranks worth of powers, then if I take my short rest at 17th level, I wouldn't get 17 mana back because I'm holding 6 of them. The 6 of them are tapped. They aren't spent yet. They're being used. So they aren't spent to recover yet. My 17th level character sustaining 6 ranks of power, when that short rest ends, I would get 11 mana back because 6 of it is currently still tapped to maintain the effects. When I start a long rest, all the powers dump, and when I finish my long rest, I'd be able to refresh all 17. We'll probably be adding in a feature, probably like around 18th level. Once we see how the actual scaffolding of the class sits, we'll probably add like an 18th level feature that says like when you attain this level as a monk, you no longer lose sustained powers while you take a long rest. Only dispel or being being incapacitated, being dropped to 0 hit points will be the only things that will dismiss the powers that you're sustaining. Kind of like we have for the ranger with the Mark of Prey feature. So the over channel was important just to state that, because at 3rd level, when you gain the Warrior of the Elements, the Elemental Attunement becomes a 1st rank sustained power, but you'll still have a point open for you to sustain another 1st rank power somewhere else. So this basically just becomes a really efficient kicker effect for your character to have permanized reach and to deal an elemental damage of your choice. If you want to change the damage type, then when you take a short rest, you can drop Elemental Attunement, regain your point of mana, and then reactivate Elemental Attunement and switch the damage type that you're choosing to use. You can, of course, choose to learn damage types as a prepared ability so that you'd be able to use it on any weapon you're proficient with, not just your unarmed attacks. But that's specifically as giving you a kicker effect for unarmed attacks. The damage types that we could make use of is magical damage types. Here's the basic damage types: acid, cold, fire, lightning, and poison, which you can prepare as early as 1st level. And then advanced forms. This only costs 1 spell slot or one channel spot, 1 power slot. But the options then are force, necrotic, psychic, radiant, and thunder damage. Thunder damage is a big kicker effect that the Warrior of the Elements gets at 3rd level. You're getting access to ongoing thunder damage earlier on, which I think is fantastic. So there's a lot of added value here right off the cuff. I like the changes that they're making to the Warrior of the Elements. By dropping the spellcasting component from the class, it simplifies it and helps focus. And we already have this vast system of spellcasting built into it. So when we go back and here, I'll show you real quick as a tangent for anyone that's paying attention to these things. Here is our list of books. Here's the Elemental Key book that we built, which we'll have to change into Elemental Magic. Or maybe we'll just go, I don't know. We'll have to rename it because this is no longer relevant. But the way that we originally built this was as a half caster. Here's a slew of cantrips and 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th level spells that you can learn. Cantrips you can cast for free, of course. And you can prepare the cantrips so you can swap them on a daily basis, as well as 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 5th rank spells you have access to at 17th level. It costs you 5 mana to channel it. Of course, that's really expensive for you. So we had this stack of spells, of 50 spells, that you'd be able to cast. And now that they've removed this coupling, I think what we'll end up doing is replacing this table with a unique, a specific sample set of powers that will be able to add 20 powers that your character can learn over time to be able to swap all this stuff in. So, but otherwise we'll be able to basically pick up what we're doing right now and drop it directly into the Elemental Key book. So we'll be doing that after the player's handbook updates and we see what the spells are. But what I'm thinking is getting rid, retaining a slew of instant effects like reactions and instant effects like fireball and stuff like that. Adding those to the list so that we can keep the elemental effect going as well as the color mana thing going. But we'll suss that out when we actually see the book publish. In the meantime, let's continue sallying forth. So a next feature is the manipulate elements. When you take this archetype at 3rd level, you can channel Elemental Attunement as a 1st rank sustained power. When using while sustained, your unarmed attacks and natural weapons, weapon reach. While sustained, the reach of your unarmed attacks and natural weapon increase. The reach of your unarmed attacks and natural weapons increase by 5 feet, and you can and your attacks deal elemental damage instead of your normal weapon damage. When you sustain the power, when you channel this power, choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. Your unarmed and natural weapon attacks deal the chosen damage type while the power is sustained. You can change power. You can change the damage type each time you sustain this power. If you choose, you can still deal your normal damage type, but you are not. But your. I'm going to leave all that out. There. It's worth noting that if you aren't using, like, the 5-foot reach is from the elements reaching. It's not, you're not actually stretching your limbs. So if you choose not to use, so we should word that right. While sustained, the reach of your unarmed attacks and natural weapons can increase. You can choose to, while sustained, you can choose to increase the reach of your unarmed attacks and natural weapons by 5 feet and deal. While sustained, you can choose to increase the reach of your unarmed attacks and natural weapons by 5 feet and deal elemental damage instead of your normal weapon damage type. When you channel this power, choose acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. From the following list. Acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. You can change the damage type each time you sustain this power. Period. There you go. Okay, cool. That should cover it. So, manipulate elements. This feature gives you access to the elementalism cantrip. At 3rd level, you learn the elementalist cantrip. Elemental burst. 6th level. When you gain 6th level, you can spend 2 mana as a maneuver to deal at the cost of only 2 focus points and a magic action. You'll be happy you've got elemental burst when you need to break out of the flashy kaboomy side of elemental combat. This feature allows you to detonate a 20-foot radius sphere explosion of acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. Target, let's see. So, and it has a 120-foot range. Is that right? 120-foot range and 20-foot area radius. Let's see. When you gain 6th level, you can spend you gain the you can channel elemental burst as a second rank. You can channel elemental burst as a second rank maneuver. When you gain 6th level, you can channel Elemental Burst as a second rank maneuver. Dealing an amount of damage equal to 1 power die per mana spent channeling the maneuver. The damage you can choose. Get out of here, scallywag. You can choose to deal acid, fire, acid cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage to all creatures within a 20-foot radius at a point up of a location within 120 feet of you. Up to 120 feet away. Creatures within the area of effect can make a dexterity saving throw against your channeling DC to reduce the damage by half. Is that how we worded this? Upside down, it's not weakness, different damage types. There you go, Stride of the Elements. Okay, so area of effect. Okay, so maneuvers. What are maneuvers? Just to refresh the memories for those that are not yet indoctrinated, a maneuver is a magic-like effect that you can channel as an action or a bonus action. You can channel maneuvers. You can channel 2 maneuvers per round as an action and as a bonus action. You have to spend mana every time you do it, but you have that flexibility of doing the same maneuver twice in the same round if you want. On top of that, the monk, as well as almost all of the martial power character types, they have an optional class feature called Empowered Maneuvers, which is beginning at 1st level. During combat, when you take the attack action, you can forego any number of attacks to gain an equal number of temporary mana to channel a maneuver as a bonus action. So I take I use it's my turn, it's my action. I use the attack action. I then, like at 1st level, I then sacrifice that attack to gain a free point of mana that I can then use during my bonus action to channel a maneuver. By making the elemental burst power a maneuver and you gain it at 6th level, what I could do if I wanted is I could forego both of my attacks and reduce the cost of that to 0. Basically, by using both my attacks, I get 2 free points of mana that I could then pump into the elemental burst feature that I can then lob at somebody. So basically I use my action and my bonus action to lob that 2d, it'd be a 2d8 at that point. So it'd be to lob 2d8 damage at a bunch of foes within a 20-foot radius, way over yonder. It won't cost me any mana to do that. But it's also not as powerful at this point as what the feature would otherwise be. But I can spam it continuously. If I wanted to spend 4 mana, I could use 2 mana as a bonus action and then 2 mana as a regular action to hit them twice, to force them to make 2 saving throws, to deal a potential up to 4d8 damage for the 4 mana. At 5th level, what I could do instead, like once I get 9th level, for instance, I'll be able to channel up to 3rd rank powers because we're using half casting progression. So once my monk gets to 9th level, I'd be able to channel up to 3 mana. I could choose, for instance, to take both of my attacks during my attack action, sacrifice both attacks, gain 2 points of mana, and then spend 1 point out of my own pool to deal 3d8 or at 11th level probably d10, 3d10 damage. And then at 17th level, I can get all the way up to, it'll be a d12 because I'm a monk. So I could spend a total of 5 mana to do 5d12 damage. I could sacrifice 2 of my attacks to lob a 5d12 fireball as a bonus action, and it would only cost me 3 mana to do 5 dice instead of, I could do it for free to do 2d12 damage, of course, but they get the save for half. But I could spam forever. I could just lob fireball after fireball every round as an action plus bonus action, and it wouldn't cost me anything to do that. So I have infinite spamming. It's not as strong as the 3 dice that you get out the gate, but those 3 dice never improve even if you spend more mana. This is allowing you to spend more mana, but it's also allowing you to not have to spend any mana if you keep the power level low on it. So balanced but less powerful. So it's not as good of a feature until you can afford to juice it up at later levels by spending a point or 2 at a time. But ultimately, it's going to be useful. So I like that. I am on board with that ability. So continuing on, let's find out what Stride of the Elements is. This upgrades your elemental attunement, providing a fly speed and swim speed equal to your speed while it's at. Oh wow! With this feature, while this feature may mechanically give you a fly and swim speed, in my head, it's so much more part of the power fantasy of the subclass. It's allowing you to imagine your character incorporating elemental powers into everything they do, and of course, this includes making an ice slide or using jets of fire to propel themselves across the battlefield. Also, thanks to unarmored movement, this means you'll likely have a baseline fly and swim speed of 50 feet when you receive this feature. Nice move, Twinkle Toes. Have a that's an Airbender reference for those that don't know. Having a reach of 10 feet in your elemental strike plus a consistent fly speed will make you almost impossible to pin down in combat. Plus, you have elemental burst that you can rain down on your opponents from on high. If your enemies ever get too close, you can use Step of the Wind and dash away, or even bring your friends along by level 10. No flying bison required. There's that elemental zing again. Love that. Elemental Epitome. So let's see. We gain. Oh, that's easy enough. Stride of the Elements, 11th level. When you gain 11th level, when you sustain elemental attunement, you gain a fly and swim you also, God, that's crazy good value. You also gain a fly and swim speed. I am fine with that. This is a special feature of 11th level. You're effectively getting free mana as a result of it. Fly would normally be 3 mana. Swim would normally be a 1 level sustained effect, but I'm cool with this. That's really good value. Like, that's really, really good value. And then Elemental Epitome. Let's see what it does. This well-named feature is the epitome of the elemental attunement. It provides a defensive, movement-based, and offensive boost to your kit and really makes you feel like a master of the elements. First, you gain resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, and you can change which damage type you're resistant to at the start of each of your turns. Wow, that's really good. Next, your Step of the Wind gets a buff, allowing you to travel 20 feet further while flying or swimming, I may remind you. And dish out elemental damage equal to 1 martial arts damage to any creature you get within. Oh, okay, so basically you're going to get overrun for free. Last, when you hit with an unarmed strike, you can deal extra damage equal to... last, when you hit with an unarmed strike, you can deal an extra damage equal to 1 of your martial art dice once per turn. Once per turn. Fuck you. Seeing as your elemental attunement comes with elemental damage baked in, this extra damage is the type of element you've chosen. Master all elements. If you ever wanted to blah-de-blah, you can blah-de-blah and blah. Blah. Okay. So, let's see. It provides a defensive, movement-based, and offensive boost. First, you gain... is the epitome of your elemental attunement. When you gain 17th level while sustaining, this language should be while sustaining, not when you sustain. While sustaining, when you gain 17th level while sustaining elemental attunement, your movement speed increases an additional 20 feet, and you gain resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. You can change which element you are you resist at the beginning of your turn or as a reaction. In addition, while sustaining this power, you deal an extra power die of damage when you attack with your unarmed strikes or natural weapon. Weapon attacks, dealing the chosen type of period. I don't need the extra die stuff, the extra damage type, because it's already built in. In addition, while sustaining this power, let's see. In addition, while sustaining this power, you deal an extra power die of damage when you attack with your unarmed strikes or natural weapon attacks. When you deal your chosen elemental damage type with your unarmed strikes and natural weapon attacks. 17th level, I'm fine with you gaining an extra die for free. That's fine. Let's see. In addition, let's see. This extra die can be added to any additional power dice rolled when you channel a strike power. So like I could channel, so with this, if I'm making an unarmed or natural weapon attack, and if I would make my attack, I would use my martial arts die. I could then at 17th level channel an extra 5 mana to increase the damage of the strike by 5 extra martial arts die. So it'd be D6 base, it'd be D12 base, and then because we're 17th level, it'd be D12 base. I just put 5 mana in to add 5 dice, so now it's 6d12. And then because I am because I have elemental epitome, I gain an additional die for free. So I could spend 0 mana while I'm sustaining this effect. There's only 1 mana. I can sustain this this effect for 1 mana. I would then always be able to do 2d12 at 17th level, 2d12 elemental damage each strike, or I could pump up to 5 mana in every time I hit to deal up to 7d12 damage for 5 mana. So not bad. And we could also use the empowered strikes, which is if I hit with my first attack, I can sacrifice my second attack to gain an additional to gain a free point of mana. So in this instance, at 17th level, I could sacrifice my second attack to get 7d12 damage for only 4 mana instead of 5. So there's that. But all in all, that's really simple. I like how this class sits. It's really cool. I am pleased with where the monk is at. It's the most pleasant surprise I've had about 5e24. Very much care for it. Below revisions needed below. I'm going to put that there for now. Hit save. There we go. Okay, so now that we know what our stack of powers is, like what our features are, we can start building out our power list. We get a total of 10 powers, at 2 at 3rd, 5th, 9th, 13th, and then our final 2 powers at 17th for a total of 10 powers. Let's see how our timing is. Oh man, we're doing really good on timing. This is great. So we already have an idea of what we can do with our character. Let's go to here and here. Let's see. All right, so let's dive into our list. Let's see what kind of stuff we want to pick up. We get the elementalist. We get the channel elements for free as a cantrip. What elementalism? Let's see. 17th level, we get free resistance that we can swap, but I think we're going to want to have some sort of resistance before that. I know we want to have elemental exposure, curse of exposure. I know we're going to want that. So let's get into the sustained powers first. Adaptive resistance right off the cuff makes a lot of sense. It's 1 mana. For an elemental resistance, choose a damage type, just like we have for the elementalist above. We gain resistance to that for as long as we maintain as long as we sustain the power. We can deactivate and then refresh the ability to change the element that we're resistant to. Eventually, we won't need this anymore at 17th level, but that's a long road from now. And even if we did, we'd also be able to end up channeling, say, 2 mana to gain resistance to BPS, and we could also channel 2 mana starting at 5th level, of course. Channel 2 mana to gain resistance to force, necrotic, poison, psychic, and radiant damage as well. So that's a good set. Adaptive resistance at 1st level makes a lot of sense for this character. This would be at 3rd level. So adaptive resistance +1. You could, of course, you could choose to prepare this as early as 1st level if you wanted it. But then you would, but then at 3rd level you get it for free, so you no longer have to prepare it anymore. It's always prepared. So let's see. That's our 1st rank power. Let's see if there is a fun feat that would make sense. At 3rd level, we're automatically going to get a whole kit of damage types, so we don't have to worry about that. We could pick up a mastery of some sort, but there's nothing about the elementalist that jumps out at me as gotta have this mastery. So instead, let's look at feats. What's a cool feat that we could give an elementalist? Skulker, Telekinetic, Time Roller, Warcaster, new feat. Nothing here leaping out at me. We've already tied up all your mana that you can sustain at 3rd level with the adaptive and the elemental attunement. I think that's what they call it. Nothing here is leaping out at me. As a must-have for the elementalist. Warrior of the Elements. I don't need Warcaster because we don't have to maintain concentration on stuff. Okay, so maybe not. Let's go back up and see if there is a sustained effect that we like. Fast. While sustaining this power, your walking speed increases by your max rank. Instant skill. While sustaining this power, you become proficient in one skill or tool of your choice. Alternatively, if you're already proficient in the chosen skill or tool, you instead gain expertise. That is useful. You can sustain this power multiple times, choosing a different skill or tool with each use. Comma. Or become or gain expertise in a skill or tool already chosen while sustaining It's not a horrible option. Instant skill is pretty useful. Empowered ability. While sustaining this power, choose one ability score. You have advantage when rolling checks and saves for the chosen ability. In addition, while this power is sustained, you can roll up to one. Okay, we're going to take empowered ability. That's just too good. And it's a sustained effect, so you can swap between empowered ability, which is also sustained 1. That is just a universally useful thing to have on outside of combat, like when you're doing haggling and other town-like activities. It's just useful. So that takes care of 3rd, and let's get into 2nd rank. Let's see if there's any 2nd rank powers that we like the look of. When you channel this power, choose a creature you can see. You always know which direction the chosen creature is while it remains in the same plane of existence as you. In addition, when you make a melee attack against the chosen creature, you deal 1 additional power die of damage. Cloud Strider. While this power is sustained, you can fly using your walking speed, and we're going to get that for free at 11th. So I don't think I want to just stack it. Like the things that we choose, we want to always be useful, even if you're making use of your other features. Deadly Presence. While this power is sustained and you are not restrained, stunned, paralyzed, or incapacitated, any creature you can see that begins its turn or moves within reach of your melee attacks takes 1 power die of damage. When you spend 4 mana, when you sustain this power with 4 mana, the damage increases to 2 power dice. It's not bad. Deadly Presence is pretty good. Strange Metabolism, immune to poison. Poison isn't necessarily elemental, so that doesn't make sense. Tremor Sense isn't bad. It's very Earth focused, and as much as it makes sense for Earth, for all elements, I don't think it does. So I think the best thing we can take here is Deadly Presence. So Deadly Presence, +2. And the reason I'm leaning so hard into sustained effects is because the monk can sustain more powers, can sustain, at 5th level, can sustain 3 ranks of power. Your elemental attunement plus, say, Deadly Presence. So you're always going to be dealing elemental damage to creatures that come within range of you if you choose. Super useful. But then we have something else that we can pick up. So let's dive out of the sustained powers and let's look at what's some cool stuff that we can do. Poisoning Strike, Life Stealing Strike, Binding Strike, Asium Strike. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do some. I wanted some curses. So let's see. Curse of Exposure as a reaction to when you see a creature within range taking damage. You can impose vulnerability on the target. Alternatively, if it has resistance, it loses that, and if it is immune, it becomes resistant. So Curse of Exposure is that's a Blood Hunter feature that we translated into the mana system, so that you don't have to be an edgelord to have those Witcher powers. So Curse of Exposure. That is reaction 3. Yeah. Let's take a look at lower level. Nope. What about first rank? Anticipate, deflection, downtrodden, feint, interpose, none of that. Maneuvers. Cursed Brand. You curse a creature that you can see to make saving throws against you with disadvantage. The effect ends when the creature succeeds a save against them. Clouded Mind, attacking. No, that's a lot of curse stuff going on. And for the exposure, that made sense because the elemental damage that you're dealing, getting rid of people's resistance, made sense. But I'm not feeling it so much here. Bonus attack. We already get bonus attack with Flurry of Blows, so you don't actually need that. Don't need Double Strike either. Empower Synergy. When you channel a power, you can make a weapon attack with advantage. You can make when you channel. When you channel a maneuver or sustained power, in the beginning, end, or during the empowered during the power. I don't know why that's making noise, but it shouldn't. Excuse me for a second. That should stop pretty much any time. I like Empowered Synergy. Second rank, that's pretty good. It's a kicker effect. Empowered exploits modify other actions. So basically, when I use a bonus action or an action to channel a maneuver or a sustained effect, I can spend an extra 2 mana. And if I do, I get to make an attack on top of whatever else it is I'm doing as part of that action. So Empowered Synergy is actually really, really good. Empowered Synergy, which is exploit 2. What other cool stuff? We get Windstrider. Oh yeah, there was the overrun feature. Let's go back to here, Epitome. Lastly, when you sustain elemental attunement, you gain the benefit of the overrun exploit, dealing 1 power die of damage as part. Overrun. Channel this exploit as part of a move action. You can move through spaces occupied by creatures. Creatures moved through this way take 1 power die of force damage for each mana channeled. If you end your turn in a space occupied by another creature, you instead end your turn in the most recently unoccupied space that you moved through during your turn without dealing any damage to the creature. Creatures only take damage this way once each turn. Hey Rob, what's going on? Elemental Epitome. Lastly, when you sustain Elemental Attunement, you gain the benefit of the Overrun exploit, dealing 1 power die of damage. You can spend additional mana to increase the amount of damage dealt as described in the power above. Double checking it. 1 power die of force damage for each mana channel. We get 1 point of mana for free at 17th level. When we get access to it, we can channel up to 5 mana, which means that if I invested 5 mana into this, along with sustaining the Elemental Attunement ability, I would be dealing 6d12 damage to each target that I pass by within 5 feet of during the turn. So that's pretty hype. That is pretty hype. And that also means I don't need Overrun at any point because we get it for free at 17th. And if you want it earlier than that, you just pick it up as a repaired power for the day and then dump it when you don't need it anymore. But let's see if there's anything else cool that's going on. Breath of Life, that might make sense. Elementalist, not specifically. Bait and switch, no. Breath of Life, no. Charge, no. Cooperative effort, no. Extended attack, we already get extended attack for free at 3rd level, and we get access to this by having elemental attunement sustained, so we don't need this. Evasive footwork, when channeling this power, you move, gains the benefit of disengage and dodge actions until the beginning of your turn. Ironically, this evasive footwork costs 1 mana, and that is the new Step of the Wind feature that they gave the monk. Again, we have outshone, or we've been ahead of the curve with Wizards of the Coast, granting for 1.2 action economy movement benefits. We've had this here since before the playtest. So yet again, the playtesting content from Wizards of the Coast is curving into the design philosophies that we have inside of the system, which is why the 2024 book has been such a blessing, because they're using the same amount of efficiency for martial dice, martial mana, that I've been using for over the past year. I am absolutely thrilled to see how well this book, these ideas are curving into where the power level of 5e24 are at. It's perfect. Literally, it's perfect. Charge. When you move at least 10 feet, the first attack you make after this movement is rolled with advantage. And you can roll 1 power die per mana spent this way. Let's just give them charge. Why not? That's going to curve. That's going to curve into the empowered synergy and the into the overrun feature that you'll have access to. So let's just give you charge, which is exploit 1. I think I want to move empowered synergy to 9th and keep charge at 5th. And it's just, that feels like a good level. to have this at. This feels more natural. There. Now, 13th level, that's 4th rank powers. What cool 4th rank power things are out there for us? Resilient save. When you succeed a saving throw to reduce damage, you take none or half if you fail. Just resilient save in general is really tasty. So let's just take that. Resilient save exploit 3, right? Yeah, it's an exploit. So whenever I make a saving throw, and that saving throw is going to reduce the amount of damage that I take, regardless of what the saving throw is. If I throw 3 mana at it, if I save, I take no damage. If I fail, I'll take half damage. So when you succeed a saving throw to reduce damage, I need to change this. When you make a saving throw to reduce damage, you can channel this power after you roll, but before you know if the save is successful, you can, let's see, when you make a saving throw to reduce damage, you can channel this power after you roll, but before you know if the save is successful, period. Damage, comma, if the save succeeds, you take no damage, and if the save succeeds, you take no damage, or half if you fail. There. So resilient save now makes sense because you want to roll that you want to commit them to it before you roll it. How important is this? You roll the die. I got a 14. Maybe I save, maybe I don't. I'm going to throw 3 mana at it to guarantee that I can reduce the cost. And if I happen to save, fantastic. I'll take none. So that's a worthy gamble. Resilient save, that's a good one. Let's see what other juicy stuff is in here. I only need 3 more. 1 more for 4th and then 2 for 5th. So let's see what other cool stuff we have laying around here in the maneuvers that might make sense. Beguiling Trance, no. Curse of Enfeeblement, no. Flicker Pounce, no. Sleeper Hold, no. Telekinetic Bubble, Wave of Terror. Neither one of those makes a lot of sense for an elemental monk. Deflection, Feint, Interpose, Redirect, Reposition, Counter, Curse, Defense, Move, Roll, Save. As a reaction to taking damage from an attack. Roll, no. Anchor doesn't make sense. We already have Curse of Exposure. Fate Spinner, not specifically. Neither Hexproof nor Rider Revival. So now we're into strikes. We haven't picked any strikes yet. So there's a ton of potential here for us. I mean, we could take all of these. Thundering Strike, Shocking Strike, Acid Strike, or Caustic Strike, and Flaming Strike and Freezing Strike. That's Caustic. Deals acid damage. Flaming Strike deals fire damage. Freezing Strike does cold damage. Shocking Strike and Thundering Strike. All 5 of them, all 5 elements that we'd have access to are first rank strikes, which we could obviously gain tons of access to. But I'd rather you prepare. Like if you want to be, like, I'd rather leave that up to your preparation. Like if you want to be a fire and ice elementalist, then you'll pick freezing and flaming strike yourself, because that's how you're choosing to express your shit. So instead, bursting strike's not bad. Your weapon deals 1 power die of additional damage per mana channeled, and any number of creatures you choose within 10 feet also take damage equal to the result of the power dice damage rolled. It's 3 mana. That's really, really good. Let's take that. Bursting Strike. Because at 6th level, we gain the elemental burst ability. We could pick up the bursting strike if we wanted to. That's going to be exploit 3 by 9th level. At 13th level, it becomes more affordable to use it, and it really integrates the elemental burst, the fireball effective elemental burst. We bring in close and personal bursting strike. I like that, and the language matches. Elemental burst, bursting strike. Bob's your uncle. The end. What else we got? Blackout strike. Creature becomes unconscious until the end of their next turn. If the creature takes damage or is jostled awake, the effect ends early. Nah, we don't need those. But now we're into sustain. So let's see if there's 2 high-rank sustained effects that we think would be fun to tack onto this dude. And then we'll be done. Then we'll be done for the day. And we'll come back on Saturday and thumb through this stuff and then start building our playtest adventure here on stream. That'll be fun. That'll be a lot of fun. Let's see. Tremor Sense is tempting, but if you don't care about Earth, then it doesn't make sense. Daunting Presence. Nah. Elementalist, not so much. Celerity, not so much. We're not making a Swiftblade. Ooh, Indestructible. That's a really good one. While sustaining this power, you gain resistance to all damage and attack, and attacks can't to all damage, comma, and attacks can't score critical hits. In addition, as a reaction to taking damage, you can dismiss this power and burn 2 additional mana, and as an exploit. No, it's already a reaction. In addition, as a reaction to taking damage, you can dismiss this power and spend 2 mana. If you do, until the beginning of your next turn, you are immune to the triggering damage type. Ha! Indestructible is perfect. Indestructible. Sustained 4, comma. Master of Fate does not make sense. Frenzied Attack. I find myself looking for a power. What would be a good power to add? Dire Impact. While sustaining this power, weapon attacks are magical, and you can add 1 plus your max rank of power to the weapon damage rolls. Ugh. That's not bad. Like, Aquatic Anatomy is great if you want to be a waterbender, but you can just prepare that yourself. So, and you're gonna have so many powers laying around that it's not really that pressing. I'm kind of grooving. I'm kind of grooving on Dire Impact, so I think I'm just gonna give it to you. But we can give it to you at a much lower level. So, Resilient Save, Bursting Strike. Let's pick up Resilient Save here. And Dire Impact is 1st rank. Curse of Exposure. Push Deadly Presence back to 9th level. Charge. Comma. Dire Impact. Sus one. By the time you get this, it's worth 3. So for 1 point of mana, you're always dealing an extra 3 damage whenever you make a hit. For 1 mana, by the time you get to 17th level, it's going to deal an extra 6 damage, which is basically the average of a D12 power die. So you're basically, for 1 mana, getting an extra die of damage. It's not bad. It's not bad stacking at all. So, hey, there we go. We built it. We're done with our session. That is the Warrior of the Elements. So as time goes on, I'm sure we're going to see more of each class has 4. So we've got the Barbarian. What do we have in here? We have the Artificer in here, the Barbarian, the Fighter, the Monk, the Paladin, the Ranger, Rogue. I said Paladin. I said Monk, Ranger, Rogue, and Warlock. That's it, 8 classes. So there's 8 classes that are in the book. And we're going to have 4 subclasses for each of them in the player's handbook. So that means we're going to have a total of 32 subclasses in the initial book. And then when they start publishing additional subclasses in the future, I'll be able to make an expansion of that to tie into the martial power system that we already have. And in the meantime, I can take all of these extra ways that exist. I can tear all of these out and put them into a PDF that I can put up on my Patreon for folks that are members to grab. And yeah, that's it for now. So that's it for today. Yeah, I'm going to check out. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning. As it is right now, we are just going to, I think the Way of the Elements is the only one that we needed to change so far. So when we come back tomorrow morning, I am expecting to put on my my adventure design hat and act like a DM, and we're building a West March hex crawl campaign for the Ravnica Rubble Belt to test the martial power system inside of. And so the next playtest is going to be for characters level 5 and 6. So the team in the last playtest defeated the current land tile that they're in. It was a what was it? A white and blue devoted land tile. So they defeated that, and now the next one that they're moving on into, I believe, is blue and red. So we're going to build out that tile. We're going to randomize all the creatures and all the threats and hazards and magical auras and all that stuff. So we're going to do that tomorrow. It'll be in about 16 hours is when we're going to be on to do that. 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, Seattle time, which will be noon Eastern time. So we're going to spend probably 2 or 3 hours building out just a scenario, maybe put down some rough map, some map usage, and we're gonna build out an environment that we can hex crawl and explore and fight and dungeon delve for probably about like 15 to 20 hours worth of content. So we're gonna build that on Saturday, and if we'll probably end up doing that on Tuesday and Friday next week too, in anticipation of us having playtesting towards the end of this month. So right on, man. Hey, what's going on, Fred? Good to see you. So yeah, this is all built out. I'm really looking forward. We actually, for those that are interested, again, the whole document that we're working on right now is available through my Patreon here, and you can just click into the Martial Powers document. By clicking that, you'll see the same document that we've been working on here today as well. Same document. And to that effect, if you go into the document, and that's okay. If we go to the document, we can kick. Oops, wrong document. Let's go here. If we go all the way to the end of the 118 pages we have currently, here is all of the random tables that we built for a color mana land system with the magical enchantments that affect the area, the different types of monsters that are found in the area, including boss monsters. We have different hazards that are associated with each land type, and all the lands that we have in here are being pulled from Ravnica card art. So like the Golgari Rot Farm is primarily green and black, so it's in a depression, like an Underdark or a Sunken Valley area on the Hexcrawl map, When you get into that area, it could, for instance, be a Golgari rot farm, meaning that you're going to run across myconid colonies as well as ooze creatures as the most likely creatures you'll be fighting in that area. We have a random table to determine what type of lands it is that you're facing when you go into them. Here's the random tables for that. We also have all the basic rules for conducting movement, exploration, and progressive steps going through the West March Hexcrawl campaign that we're building here. The 3rd and 4th level playtesting went fantastic. But so not only are we playtesting the martial power system for players to be able to implement, we're also download testing the RoboBelt playtest design and ironing out any rough patches in this random generator so that when this is done, if you want to use martial powers in your Ravnica campaign, you can run a full RoboBelt campaign where you're just going through the wastelands that are between the urban regions of the planet. So anyway, so now we're truly at the end of this. I will be back in the morning tomorrow in about what did I say? About 19 hours from now. And so yeah, everyone have a great night, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks a lot.